let's stick with the Range Rover for our next event regarding the normal rally events, because, well, right now I don't really have too much money to spend. Plus, I think it will be easier if I stick with the Range Rover for now. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick with our Land Rover, the first and only Land Rover in this game, I might add, and basically the only one that's really featured in the GT series up until they added the Range Rover Evoque. But since we don't have too much money to spend right now, I'm just gonna buy the snow tyres for this thing, because, well, we're kind of in the poverty region right now, because we don't really have a lot of money to spend. So I'm going to stick with this thing for the Whistler Ice Race. I might also consider changing wheels at some point, but I don't think I really need to do that. I think we'll be fine. So, back now to the rally events, as we begin the Whistler Ice Race. I also figured I'd stick with this thing because, well, the acceleration it has is actually pretty good for events like these. So, 3 laps again, let's go. And we are starting the Whistler Ice Race against the Evo 2, which tells me this is going to be pretty easy, and Stage 2 engine tuning, I don't think that's really needed for this. I'd say we're going to be fine for our first race, from what I know. But here we go. Race 1 of the Whistler Ice Race. Yeah, 13 points. This is going to be pretty easy, from what I can see. I don't think trouble is really going to be too much of a concern here. I think we're going to get this one pulled off pretty easily, from what I can see. Plus, I am technically driving what's essentially an all-terrain vehicle anyway, so you kind of would expect this to be pretty easy anyway. The reason I chose to stick with the Range Rover is, well, because I really don't have a lot of money to spend on my next car choice. So I might consider sticking with the Range Rover for this event as well as the next event, because, well, I'm a little short on credits right now. So in other words, you get to see what's essentially a trilogy of me doing races with the Land Rover Range Stormer concept, which is basically a Range Rover. And yes, as you might have guessed, I am also doing this, of course, to at least give the Land Rover some love. Since that's one thing I know lots of other people up to this point in their LPs have not actually done. But I figured I would be different and I would use the only Land Rover in this game. And I kind of made it easy, but either way, I know there are some chances that are not worth taking unless you feel as though you have to pretty much go for it, to be sure. It's pretty much been a dominant performance here at the Ice Arena. I think it's fair to say this is not going to be too hard for me to pull off because of just how much of a lead I already have at this point. And since I am recording this on a Friday, well, it only made sense for me to at least, well, try to be more interesting with my choices. Plus I did use the Silverado for the race of natural aspiration sports. So the Evo 2, he did do a pretty good job of keeping close to me. Although technically speaking, of course, that's because of rubber banding, but either way, it wasn't really a competition because, well, he wasn't exactly in a dogfight with me or anything. I basically just passed him and then that was it. Okay, let's move on to race 2. And where this time we have got the Peugeot 205 Turbo 16. I don't know how this is gonna go, but we'll wait and see. I think this will be pretty easy, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, this will be pretty easy, from what I can see. I don't think there's really going to be any competition here over which one of us will win. Although then again, I did have a pretty sizable battle with the RS200 last time, so that doesn't mean to say a close race is not possible. Especially since, obviously, you know, the 205 is technically another Group B car, so this could be interesting. But we'll just have to wait and see. Even though I'm pretty convinced in saying that even if this was just an 8-point race, I'm convinced in saying it would be a lot more if there was tuning involved regarding the power outputs of the Group B road car variants. I'm convinced in saying the power output would be a lot more. As I'm right behind the 205, I almost pull off a pass for the lead. Kind of had to force him out the way there to try and see if I could get alongside him. I was right there in the thick of it. He's got me locked on the inside, but I keep myself in second gear, so I'm able to move up alongside him. I make a pass for the lead, and I succeed in passing for the lead. So, pretty good race so far, if I do say so myself. I really had to fight to get the lead there, I'm not gonna lie. That was definitely a fight for the win is what that was. Because of just how close we were. So I think it's fair to say that the tuning parts I have on this thing, well, they're very much needed. If it's going to be possible, of course, for me to beat the Group B hot hatches. Well, looks like we're very much in for another close finish here, from what I can see. As I'm keeping it in third gear because, well, the RPMs are low, and because we're on the snow. And just like that, another clean sweep in the Range Rover by 1.3 seconds over the 205. So, I'd say those two races were actually pretty good altogether. I was not thinking it was going to be as simple as that for me to pull off those two wins the way I did, but there we go. Anyway, let's now save our replay, because we can. Also because I have not saved a replay on the reverse course yet. And thus that is my reason for saving the replay now. So, yeah. Okay. Another rally event is done, and all that took me was 11 minutes of recording to thread the needle. Now let's get our prize car. And so, for winning the normal Whistler Ice Race, we get the Lancer Evo 4, as driven by Tommy Mäkinen during the 1997 World Rally Championship, and ultimately going on to win what was his second WRC title at the time over Colin McRae, who was driving the Subaru Impreza. Anyway, or Subaru Impreza, I should say. Anyway, there we go. The Whistler Ice Race is ours, and that's now 4 of the 11 rally events now cleared. As next up we have Chamonix. So 18.1% complete now, as we've gained another 0.3% of progress. And let's now try and find our car, if it's in here somewhere. Here it is. And believe it or not, I reckon we'll be using this car for one of the pro rally events, now that I think about it, because, well, I kind of want to. You know, one thing I've actually noticed with these rally cars I keep getting is that they all seem to be at pretty much the same sellable price as one another, as in there's no real standout figures over which one sells for the most money. They all pretty much have the same price ranging, if you know what I mean. But anyway, 4 rally events are down, and we still have 7 to go in the normal section. So, Whistler Ice Race is ours, and next up we have Chamonix, coming in the next episode.